Hi there, my name is Matthew Enright and welcome to Talk Show. Today I'm very excited to present our very first in-person interview with the lovely Michelle Singleton. Now Michelle hit a crossroads in her life a couple of years ago and decided to pursue her lifelong dream of opening an animal sanctuary. What started as a couple of hooves has since expanded to many, many more animals and friends. She shares her trials and tribulations, which can be equal parts funny, sad, and uplifting, sometimes all at once. She shares some unconventional stories, which include a lost pig on a highway and an unconventional use of Tabasco hot sauce on goat nipples. So without further ado, welcome a new friend to the show, Michelle Singleton. Now, if you want to join my sister, mom, and I, we're going to head up to Duncan and we're going to find a home for hooves. Hey guys, can you just be quiet, please? So first of all, thank you for being interviewed and just coming on my little show that could.
Yeah.
So can you just first state your name and the name of the sanctuary that you run?
My name is Michelle Singleton, and I run a Home For Hooves farm sanctuary.
Cool. And my first question is, where did you grow up?
I grew up on Gabriola Island. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but
Oh,
it's a little Gulf island off of Nanaimo. So I moved there when I was 6. I was born in Quesnel, which is in the interior of BC, and then I went to school there. And then after that, I went to trade school at BCIT and I'm a lab technologist. So I work for the health authorities right now. And then when I worked at Surrey Memorial for years and years, and then a job popped up here. And then I hopped back over because just like you, I want to be back on the island. It's the best place to be.
Yeah, it's tough. It's like, what do you do for work is sort of the, the big question. Like I miss all the stuff there is to do in Vancouver, but I feel like I traded the police sirens for like birds chirping, you know, and like both are great. Gabriola, we used to go there in the summer, and there used to be this horse named Wilfred the horse who lived at this park basically and was sort of taken care of, and long gone now, but we were like kids and we always get to be excited because we go see Wilfred.
A quick editorial fix on that. It was actually Jedediah Island, not Gabriola.
Now you work as correct me if I'm wrong, ardent environmentalist. Environmentalist.
No.
No?
Oh, you read that off of Kirsty's.
Oh, okay,
that was
sorry.
Kirsty's biography.
I have the wrong person.
Yeah.
Then. Okay.
Like I said, I'm a lab technologist, so I've been in leadership roles my whole life.
Okay.
So I was the evening supervisor at Surrey Memorial Hospital in the lab, and then I was the site supervisor for the lab at Jim Pattison Outpatient Care and Surgery Center.
Yeah.
Job came up here, so I was the lead technologist for the lab. I'm now in a non-contract position, and I'm covering as the director for Center North Island Labs at the moment. So.
Wow. So what does that job entail? Because my mom's a retired nurse, so I know a little bit about healthcare, but not a whole lot, as you can tell.
Yes. So right now I'm the operations director. I'm just filling it as a favor until they can fill it because it is a huge job. It's one that I can't take on because there's a lot of travel. But basically, it's running all of the labs from Chemainus up to Port Hardy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That is huge.
Yeah. There's a lot of travel that it entails, which is why I can't take it because I have to be here with the animals.
Yeah.
So my actual permanent position is the team leader of operations support. So it's kind of like a jack of all trades doing HR stuff. I was key in the COVID. The pandemic, moving all of the swabs and gargles, that was my responsibility for the entire island, including correctional facilities and GP offices, Indigenous health, everywhere. So it was very busy.
So you've seen everything at this point.
Yes, but lucky for me with COVID, I was able to work from home, and I get to work from home still.
Yeah.
So that's a huge bonus.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
I'm curious, obviously you have a huge love for animals. I'm wondering where that sort of comes from. Like, were you big in animals as a kid?
Yeah, I had animals my whole life growing up. Hamsters, guinea pigs, we had horses, cats, dogs. They were like the primary animals that I looked after. And then when I moved out, I had birds and different animals that I could look after.
Oh, wow.
And always rescue cats. That was a big one. I never ever purchased. Always rescued animals either by adoption or another means.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, you began volunteering, or I guess how did you even get involved in, or where did the idea of an animal sanctuary like even come from? Like, were you just volunteering somewhere and you're like, I should make my own sanctuary?
Yeah, so essentially what happened was I was one of those people who was obsessed with mini potbelly pigs. So I was one of the individuals who thought they stay small, like the size of a dachshund dog or a pug.
You humans, when are you gonna learn that size doesn't matter? Just because something's important doesn't mean it's not very, very small.
Yeah.
But that is absolutely not true. So there was 25 potbelly pigs who were seized by the SPCA in Ladysmith. So I knew, and all of the females were pregnant. So I thought, this is the opportunity for me to rescue, because I was never going to purchase a potbelly pig. So I adopted 2 of them, and while I was waiting for them to be weaned off of their mum, there was a potbelly pig down at Broken Promises down in Victoria, and they weren't able to adopt her. She was quite timid, and her name is Puddin. So I adopted her, waited for Charlie and Charlotte to be weaned off their mum. They came here, so I had 3 potbelly pigs who I learned had no knowledge of how to look after them, so I did a ton of research.
Yeah.
Got involved with the sanctuary that was in Chemainus, learned how to look after them there. That was like 2 months, and then at the time I actually lost my father to a heart attack unexpectedly. So
sorry.
it was really, really, really tough for me. I was incredibly close with my dad, so it was one of those kind of tragedies where you kind of reassess what you're doing with your life, and like I wanted to do something different. And at the time there was a 1,000-pound sow up in Courtenay who had been used for breeding piglets for food her whole life, and they weren't able to breed her anymore, and the farmer's wife didn't want to kill her because she'd grown quite attached to her, and they asked if I would take her because if I didn't she was going to be killed. So I said yes. It took a little while for me to convince myself, because I just had 2 or 3 potbelly pigs who weren't more than 100 pounds, and Debbie was over 1,000.
Oh my God.
So she was a totally different like way you need to manage her and look after her.
Hey, buddy.
But I thought, I'm her only option, and she ended up coming here. And then, so yeah, we started off with 6 animals. So we had the 3 pigs and then the cats, 4 pigs and 2 cats, and then started the sanctuary, and now we're home to over 170. So in 6 years,
gosh.
yeah, it's crazy.
Did you ever expect it to grow that much in such a short period of time?
No, every time I remember being at 20 and thinking, this is a lot of animals to look after. I can't take any more. And then you just kind of build, and then you get confident with them, and okay, I can take on some more, and then it just grows and grows. And about a year and a half ago, we were home to about 60 animals, and the sanctuary that I actually volunteered at needed to close. So I said yes to taking them once I was asked, and then all the animals moved here, and we went from 60 to over 100, and about 160 at the time, almost
gosh.
overnight. So it was quite the ordeal and quite the undertaking, and I would not want to do it again. But that's how we got here.
Is that like an example of like ignorance is bliss sometimes?
Yeah, it was like there was no other option. If I didn't say yes, I honestly don't know what would have happened, because probably all the animals would have needed to be split up, and trying to find homes for that many animals in a short period of time is very difficult. So yeah, it was just one of those things. It's like, we'll just kind of dive in head first in the deep end and figure it out as we go, which is what we've done.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jesus. What was the name of the sanctuary that closed down?
They were called the Rasta Sanctuary.
The Rasta Sanctuary. There's some
Yeah.
interesting names. Oh, a big question I have that I forgot to put on here. Who came up with the name for this place? Because what a joyful, wonderful name.
I couldn't figure out a name that is not, I'm not a creative person. I'm very, technical person. And my neighbor, actually, I asked her, what are your thoughts on a name? And she just threw out a whole bunch, and that was one that she tossed out. And I thought, I love that. So that's what we went with, was a Home for Hooves. We only had hooves at the time. Now we have a lot more than that. But
Yeah, that's awesome. Big question I have is what kind of red tape and obstacles you had, while opening this place? Because we all know if you live on the island, there's a lot of bureaucracy. It doesn't matter what the heck you're trying to do. There's always people with little too much time on their hands, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, we're very lucky. We haven't run into anything like that. All of our neighbors, we've never had any issues, never had any complaints about anybody. To be honest, there isn't enough red tape when it comes to running rescues. All you need is a nonprofit. A lot of them even run without a nonprofit. So to get your nonprofit status, it's like an evening on the computer where you get your name approved, and once a year you go in, approve your, like say you did an AGM and you have a board of directors, and it's basically based on honesty, and that's it. There's nobody who actually comes in and makes sure what you're doing is proper. The biggest thing for us, because we look after farm animals, is making sure that we're zoned properly. So we need to be zoned agriculture. If we weren't, we would be in some trouble if someone did complain. But we haven't had any issues. We've been very fortunate.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
What is, now you guys are, and I forget the name of it, but you guys are certified
Accredited, yeah.
So what does that mean to be accredited? Because I have no idea.
So basically what accreditation is it's a third party. So they have no affiliation with you. There's no conflict of interest. They come in, they do on-site visits. They come, I think it's every 2 years to on-site, and they look at everything. So that's the health of our animals, our medical records, our shelters, our fencing system, how we deter predators, all those different things. And then they also look at your paperwork. So they look at your policies and procedures, your lease agreements, how you handle donors, your privacy agreements, your conflicts of interest, your board of directors. They review your board meeting minutes. They go over your financials. So basically it's just someone who comes in and says, yes, you guys are doing things properly. If there's something that they didn't particularly like, they're like, hey, this is how you should be doing it. And then they give us guidance on how to fix that. And then every 2 years we go over everything again. It's not as stringent as the first time around, but they still come on site, they visit, they look around, make sure you're doing things properly.
And what does that gain, or what are the benefits over not having that?
So for us, it really shows the public, that we are legitimate and that you can trust our organization and that we are looking after our animals properly. Because that's the biggest thing. Like I said, anybody can start a rescue. A nonprofit doesn't mean anything. Even charity status doesn't mean anything. Charity status is just them looking at your financials and making sure you're doing your paperwork right, but no one is actually coming on site and making sure you're looking after the animals properly, which is our number one priority. So that's basically the importance of that, is that we have a third party that's saying, yes, they're legit, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Cool. Yeah. I was very curious about that.
Yeah, it's through the Global Federation of Animal Sanctuaries, so they actually accredit animal rescues all over the world.
Wow.
Yeah, and we were the first farm sanctuary in Canada to be accredited, and now there is a second one that I work with. They're sanctuary rep, and they just got accredited as well, but it's not a very common practice in Canada, which we're trying to encourage and change.
Oh, that's awesome. And obviously you're a parent, and I'm wondering how becoming a parent has maybe changed your outlook on operating a sanctuary or just kind of life in general.
I have a 7-year-old daughter, so it's nice for her because she's out here doing stuff with me all the time. So she's learning about animals. She understands like the grief process when we lose animals. She helps out with all the medical needs. Like, she's not afraid of that. Like, she loves, like, if there's someone who's hurt, like, she's in there like a dirty shirt. Like, I am going to help them. I'll do this. She's also very observant. So she'll actually, like today we had a goat who's in our med unit, and she came up to me and said, there's something wrong with Daisy. She seems off to me. And I was watching her and I was like, yeah, you're right. And we took her temperature and she has a fever. So she has some kind of infection, but she's very intuitive that way. So she just learns a lot, just learns how to look after the animals, what I do to look after them. It's just and it's nice for her to be outside too. Like, connection with animals is so important. So for me, it's just teaching her kindness and compassion and helping others, which I think are really valuable life lessons.
Oh yeah, it'd be magical. Like, I'm sure, like, I grew up on a farm as well, and you take it for granted as a kid.
Yeah.
And I'm sure your daughter probably does too, because that's what I did. But
Yeah.
you really appreciate it as an adult, and definitely, like, as I went back, I really appreciated the beauty of it all.
Yeah.
Whereas when it's all it's just so easy to kind of, everyone's got this. And
Yeah, it's like your life, right? And I see her little friends come over and they're all like terrified of these animals and they don't know what to do and they're very standoffish, where Cadence is just like all over it. Like, she's not scared of these animals at all. I have to put measures in for her because she would like big pigs, you can't go in there with them, but she wants to, but I'm like, it's not safe. So,
Yeah.
but she's good about following rules, and she's very responsible. I think that's the other thing too, is it teaches her responsibility. She's very good about gates. She knows who can't be with who. She follows the rules because we are very strict on many different things, because if people who don't know, or you're a child, there is a high risk for injury, or it could be death too.
Yeah.
If you got trampled by someone. So we're very careful with that way too.
Yeah, it definitely teaches you to respect the animals.
Yes. Yeah, and there's a reason why there's rules in place, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell too, like, you know, you can tell when an animal's happy. Like, you can tell just by the pigs wagging their tails. Look at those tails wag. Oh, yeah. And it's like, oh, you can tell all the animals here, like have such great lives, and you can tell they appreciate it.
Yeah.
Like, I think, like, you know, especially when they have come from maybe abused backgrounds, like, you know, I don't think they take it for granted.
Yeah, you know what? I've actually had quite a few people say that to me, is like there's just a different kind of vibe here, because everyone knows they're safe. We're not exploiting them. They're just here to live out their lives naturally, and we look after them. That is like our responsibility for them. And they just know, like, and two, like if we have an aggressive animal, we do not use any kind of violence. It's all positive reinforcement, and there's huge positive change that we see with these guys. But they know, like, if they act out, like, I'm not gonna smack them. So they're never afraid of us.
Yeah.
But there's a way that we work with these animals when they do have those behavioral issues, and then we'd either put safety measures in place to keep us safe if we have to, or they eventually come around and know that I'm not going to hurt them, so the behavior stops.
And then, so I'm just gonna take a quick sip of water. When the animals, in the rare case they do misbehave, which I'm sure never ever happens here.
That's the golden menace. She's just trouble.
Looks so innocent though.
Yeah, she harasses everybody. All right, there you go.
There's always one boss in the crowd, right?
Yeah. Kind of funny because the name she came with was Amanda Marie Sunshine, and we're like, she is not a ball of sunshine.
In the rare case they do misbehave, which I'm sure never ever happens here, but
I have many scars on my body to tell you otherwise.
so I guess when it does happen, do the animals know, like, I'm in trouble or I did something wrong?
They do. Like, I use the power of my voice. That's the biggest piece. Is just if they're going to bite me or they're like fighting with somebody else, I will use my voice to stop them if I can. Or I'll intervene if I need to. But if someone goes to do something, like, I'll use my voice and they'll stop. Like, the power of your voice does a lot, and they know that, you know, they're about to cross a line and they shouldn't.
Cool. And now I wanted just to talk about your board of directors. Your board of directors. So you have, and I apologize if I mispronounce any of these names. We have Kirsty England, Sarah Davis, Ashley Felgate, Stephanie Gordon, and Jay Murr.
Yeah.
I noticed that 2 or 3 of them have backgrounds in healthcare.
Yes.
And specifically nurses, I believe.
Yeah.
Which is funny. Like, my mom's a nurse over there, a retired nurse. That can't be a coincidence. What are your thoughts on that?
I honestly don't know. Like, they work in the same health authority that I do, but I've never met them. They work at completely different sites and completely different departments. So they're all animal lovers. They all started off here as volunteers, and then as I got to know them, because you have to be very careful with your board of directors. It needs to be people that you trust, because a board of directors can completely take over an organization. So for me, I want people on my board of directors who are on site volunteering with me, because then they know the animals, they know what they're dealing with. They're very, very hands-on. So yeah, I get to know them well, and then once I know I can trust them and they do have the animal's best interest at heart, then I ask them to be on the board. But I don't know why it's many individuals from healthcare, it just kind of worked out that way.
Yeah, it seems like that. Do you think, in terms of the board of directors, I was going to ask you kind of how you found these people. Did they gravitate to this place naturally? Was it kind of word of mouth?
Naturally, they're all vegan. They all really, really care about animals, and they just kind of reached out and wanted to help, because they knew I used to do this all by myself, not with this many animals, but it was a huge, huge undertaking for me. So they just wanted to support me in the best ways that they could. And yeah, just people I thought would be good, and they've all been on my board for quite a long time. So I'm lucky.
And how do you manage, you're a mother, you have a full-time job,
Yeah.
and then you have this other full-time job. So I'm trying to figure out how you can even fit all of that in a normal week, it sounds like.
I'm up at 5 and I go to bed at 10, and it's just go, 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 go. So every moment that I have some time, I focus on my family and my daughter, but I also involve my daughter in a lot of the stuff I do out here. So that way we get our one-on-one time together. But yeah, no, I'm good at time management. I'm good at setting my priorities, and the off time that I'm not working for Island Health, everything I do is for the sanctuary. So
When do you relax?
I don't.
Oh
It's not a thing for me. Like it's literally every single day of the week. I think maybe I've had a 2-day vacation once in 6 years.
Jeez, yeah,
So-
you gotta be committed.
Yeah, and I mean I'm getting to the and I do recognize I do need time off, but right now I've been growing this sanctuary so much, that's why I'm so heavily involved with it. But I know once we're able to move and we expand, I need to dedicate at least 1 day a week where I'm just off.
Yeah.
But right now, because of what we're doing, and I just need to be focused.
Yeah. And so you've got 4.5 acres right now. And they have a pool? These guys live better than most humans do on the island. You mentioned earlier you're looking to expand. I guess, do you have any areas in mind, and how many acres do you think you need for the next step?
We need at least 40. Just to give you an idea, one cow should have 2.5 acres. So they actually need quite a big footprint just for their quality of life. And then also to make sure that we're not destroying the resources on the property as well. And also to make sure we're self-sufficient. Like we'll be able to bale our own hay and just look after ourselves a lot better. We're this year we've had a drought basically.
Much of the province is in stage 4 drought level conditions seen in red, described as likely to have adverse impacts on the environment and the economy.
And I've had all the hay yields are about half of what they should be. So we thought we had 500 bales donated, but when we went there, they only got half of that.
This year's conditions are already hitting BC's agriculture industry.
If we just take cattle, for example, we're hearing reports of maybe a 50 to 75% reduction from previous years in terms of the amount of hay produced.
So I was lucky I had other people oh, well, it's never happened before. Oh, we'll donate. So we've had all this hay donated, but we had to go to the fields and pull it all. But that's like going out to Ladysmith and then trailering this hay to all of our fosters, and here it's just such a huge undertaking. But if we have enough acreage, we can bale on site, store on site, and it's done. It's a lot easier than trying to find people, buy it, or have it donated and then moving it all over the place.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're saying, how does the foster care work? You said, you had, was it 100 that are being fostered right now?
No, we have 20 being
20,
fostered.
okay.
So we have 150 on this property, and then we have 20 who are being fostered. So that was the large animals. So the cows, mini horses, mini donkeys, and the goats and the sheep, they all had to go to foster care when we took in those 100 animals. I couldn't bring them all here. So that will be nice too, because I have 7 different foster homes at the moment, all the way from Ladysmith down to Sydney. So that is a massive footprint that I also have to cover. So when there's a problem or an issue, I need to go there. I need to go there to check on their well-being, make sure everything's okay. So, but basically we pay for all of the medical fees, their feed, everything. Our fosters are just responsible for looking after them. So it's a good deal for them because they get to look after animals, but there is no financial impact for them.
Wow. And then can they adopt if they want to, if it's the right person, or how does that work?
Yeah, we don't typically do adoptions, but if I know the foster well enough and they did want to do that, we would definitely consider it. The problem with most of the animals that we bring in, they've either been exploited, they need to be on farmland. Like there's such a restriction on zoning that if someone moves, then all of a sudden these animals are at danger again. And many of these guys have been abused and neglected. So for us, they just stay in our care. I know I have a vet here every week. They're gonna get proper veterinary care. They're gonna be looked after, and then their life is stable and they don't have to worry about going from home to home, because there's a lot of especially the pigs, they have all been in numerous homes before they make our way over to us, so.
And then, I don't know if I'll know the answer to this or not, but do you have a favorite animal or animals that have been here or are currently here?
I always say I don't have a favorite, but I mean pigs have always been my animal. Yeah, pigs overheat at 18 degrees.
Yeah, that wouldn't take much.
Hi. Because they got such a thick layer of fat on them.
sit underneath.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and we had him neutered as well when he came in. And that was a pretty big ordeal.
Oh my gosh, I can't imagine.
Does that feel good, bud?
Yeah, you definitely see where a pig in mud, the phrase comes from, eh?
Yeah, they love, and we just, and like he's used to having a wallow. And like there's one pig we have here, he's incredibly special to me, that's Cyrus.
Cyrus.
So he came here last November from an SPC seizure, so they tried to stab him in the heart to kill him. So stabbed repeatedly. And then the RCMP and the Capital Regional District were also involved, and they reached out to me, and I honestly had no space to bring him, but based on his story, I was like, I was just gonna make this happen. I don't care what the hell we have to do, but we're making this happen so he could come to us. And then the silver lining with that was that when I went there, they actually had a runt piglet there as well, and they didn't really know what they were going to do with her. So because of what happened to Cyrus, I was able to rescue Esme as well. Wow. And she is a pig who's like a 10th of the size she should be. She's really tiny.
Oh, little babe.
Yeah. I don't think you met her. We'll go over there and meet her after this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No way.
Like she shouldn't have been alive, and she was 11 pounds there. And they're bigger there than she is now.
Which animals have the biggest personalities?
Oh gosh, they're all very different and very unique, but probably pigs, just because they're loud and noisy and obnoxious sometimes. But they're just incredibly intelligent. The way they operate in a herd and how they protect like their fellow pigs is quite remarkable. But yeah, pigs, there's always something going on with pigs. They're always getting into trouble. They're very vocal, the way they communicate with you.
We're gonna make you a star.
Look at the tusk. See that?
Look at that snout. Eh? No wonder pigs find truffles like that. He's incredible.
And then probably the next one is chickens. Chickens, they were an animal that I never really understood people's obsession with them and why they like them so much, because I've never ever looked after them. But now that I do, they're just hilarious. Like all of them have their own personality.
Yeah.
Like, and they're very smart little animals.
Yeah.
People don't give them enough credit.
Yeah. What was the new?
We call her the Golden Menace. She just attacks everybody all the time and just gets into trouble. Her name is really Amanda Marie Sunshine, but
Yeah.
that's not her name.
Tomato. Yeah. I guess the hardest part of the job, obviously, is just the hours that you're putting in. But also, obviously, there comes times when you have to like euthanize the animals. I'm wondering, is that the hardest part of the job?
100%. Yeah. So like when I like stop and think about it, like I look after 170 animals right now, and I'm going to have to experience all of their deaths.
Frederick?
And already to date, I've experienced that quite a few times, and it's very hard. I really struggled with it in the beginning, but now I look at it under a different lens, where I'm so thankful that I had the opportunity to look after them, keep them safe, and then when they pass, they get to pass with dignity and compassion. And we're always quality of life is very important to us. And like my vet always says, a day too early is better than a day too late. So we always want to make sure that they're going to pass, not when they're like in medical distress. I mean, sometimes that happens because things do come up unexpectedly, but whenever possible, we always try to make sure they go before what they're dealing with becomes like a significant part of their life that can be quite like tragic and horrific. So,
Well, they have an incredible location, like, you know, that's why all the animals are so happy. So it's like, you know, they get to, you know, when they do pass, or could have already passing in heaven. So it's like they really couldn't do anywhere better on the whole island, you know?
yeah.
So I guess like there's a certain part of you that you have to maybe turn off or not step away, but I guess just how do you manage that now?
Yeah, well, like I said, I just look at it as like a place of gratefulness, but there are some that I'm not prepared for. Like the chickens don't live very long just because of the way we've bred them and their egg production. A lot of them, they just die of reproductive disease very quickly. So for me, it's kind of normal for them, but like they don't, like they're usually a couple years old. The hybrid layers, maybe like 4 is the oldest you can get them before they struggle with reproductive disease. But like the pigs, like they're animals that I've had for years and years and years. And you really have this bond that you create with them because they've been with you for so long.
He actually has, his leg didn't develop properly. So what we have for him is actually an orthotic that we put on.
Really?
That allows him to walk.
Oh, wow.
So right now, he's just got a bit of a sore on his leg. We're kind of letting it heal up so he doesn't get separated. But because he's such a big pig, we have the fan on him, and we give him lots of water and stuff just to keep him cool.
And like we had a goat who was 17 who I'd had for like 5 years, and I was very attached to him, and I knew one day he would go, but he was completely fine, and then all of a sudden he wasn't. And I wasn't ready for it. It's almost better if I know there's something going on, because then I can prepare for it and I'm mentally ready for it. But when I wake up one morning and they're in medical distress, when they really, like I didn't see it coming, it's very hard to manage. But I've got a lot of people around me that support me and check in and make sure I'm doing okay.
Yeah, well, it's like you said, it can happen overnight. Like,
Yeah.
You know, as a guy who grew up on a farm, everything can be just fine one day, and then the other day things can change. Have you ever had an animal break out? Because I've had to chase some cows and sheep in my day, so I'm wondering if you've had a similar experience.
I haven't, but I'm really particular about all of our pens. Like we may have had like one gate open, but they're out in our yard. Like we have a full perimeter fence. Like nobody is getting out.
It is serious. I've never, I didn't even think that. Oh, it's actually all the way around.
Like no one is getting out. If they happen to get out of their, like we rotate the animals out into the yard too, but if someone gets out of their enclosure, like they can't go anywhere. So that's something, but I've always been worried about that. I don't want to be like in trying to like chase like a pig. If a pig gets out, like, oh my God, like it's good luck trying to capture them. It's just very difficult. They can't restrain them. They're incredibly strong, and you'd have to literally corner them. And if they're a big pig, you have to try and get them in a trailer.
Oh my gosh, yeah, kind of 1,000-pound pig.
And if they don't want to go, like, what are you gonna do about it? A whole lot of nothing.
Hang out for a while, I guess.
Yeah, like anytime we move the big pigs, we don't feed them like 1 or 2 meals. That way they'll be driven in by food.
Come on, bud.
Because if they're not going to go in.
Yeah, the right motivation goes a long way.
Yeah.
And what's the most, sort of the strangest backstory behind like some of the animals? Like you mentioned, was it one pig fell off a truck?
Yeah, she fell off a slaughter truck in Saskatchewan. So that was Penny. So she's an 800-pound Yorkshire now, but she was little when she fell off the truck. So someone driving behind on the highway saw her fall out, grabbed her.
Wow.
And then, yeah, she's here.
Is that the kind of the most outlandish, I guess?
Yeah, and Cyrus, like the pig who was stabbed, I was just like, what the hell? Like, I've never had that happen before or anything like that. It's like serious. And who tries to stab a pig to death? Like, come on. Yeah, it's
definitely cleaner, better ways to do it if you have to.
Just awful. So, especially when you like, and he had lacerations like all over his left side because they were trying to stab him in the heart.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, it was horrible. But and I mean, like Gracie's here because she kept nursing the goats she was with. So they couldn't dry them out to breed them, so they told me flat out, like this part isn't fine. They told me they'll shoot her if I didn't take her, but they tried Tabasco sauce on the teats of the goats to try and stop her. And then when I said yes, because they told me they were going to shoot her, I put her in with the goats because I didn't have all these pens here. And oh my gosh, the 4 male goats, because she was like, oh, I got more goats I can try and nurse. And I'm like, they're all boys and they ain't got no milk. So can you not do that? And she's like running after them trying to
Oh my
nurse.
gosh.
So she got the boot after that, shortly after, because she wouldn't stop harassing them.
Aw.
But that one was kind of funny. I was just like, what in the world?
And then you mentioned the miniature, is it a miniature pony?
Yeah, he's a miniature horse.
Miniature
yeah,
horse?
Frederick.
You found
Yeah.
him after 10 years in the wild, abandoned.
Well, he was like living in someone's field, just
okay.
like living like whatever. We're not doing anything with you. Eat the
Yeah.
grass that is in the pasture. So on his own accord, no one's handling him. He's just been left to his own devices for 10 years. So no shelter, no nothing. He was just in a field that had some trees, and that's what he used as shelter. It's like his hooves were a mess. His teeth were really bad. Yeah, flies in the eyes. Yeah. Yeah, and then he had a growth on his left eye, which was squamous cell carcinoma, so we had to have that removed.
Wow.
So then trying to get an animal to trust me who has been left to his own devices for so long. He hasn't worn a halter in God knows how long. And then to have all of these problems when he came in, and to have so much handling and so much medical care that was required. Like I was putting like drops in his eyes, and he was getting blood work done all the time. He was on a special diet all of a sudden. And so it was a lot of big changes for him.
Wow, but obviously big people horse now. Like,
Yes, he's very, because there's so many people here all the time. He's just gotten very used to everyone, and again, he can trust all of us, right? Like with him, I can tell he's been he's been hit in the past, and that's very common for small horses because they're used for children. So violence is usually the way that you kind of break them. So if you move too quick or raise your hand, he will shy away automatically. So we're really careful with our body language around him. But he knows he's safe, and he knows we're not going to hurt him. So
yeah. He definitely was very curious.
Yes, he's an absolute sweetheart.
Overall, what is your message to people out there who are not familiar with a Home for Hooves, and kind of what would you like people to be more aware of, I guess?
It's just, who we are and kind of what we do, and just trying to support our organization, because the need for us is astronomical. Like I'm asked to take animals almost every day. Obviously, like right now, we cannot accept any more animals. And so usually that could mean a death sentence for them. A lot of the time, they're just going to be killed. So for us, it's just spreading the word, knowing that we're here. We're also here to support people. So if you are, especially with pigs.
Oh my gosh. Have you ever seen, I've never seen bigger pigs in my life. You could ride these guys. Look.
It's like if you're having issues with your pig and you want some advice, I'm more than happy to guide you through that and support you through that, and just give you tips and tricks on how to try and keep your animals. So that's something I try and do as well. If someone is struggling, I try to help them so that that animal can stay in that environment, as long as they're being looked after properly. So just spreading the word about who we are and what we do, and just trying to support us in the best way that they can.
Is it safe to say that if you had unlimited space, you would fill it up with all the animals?
I mean, I could fill it up in like a heartbeat. For us, like we're strict on who we take in. So it's not like someone just says, "Hey Michelle, can you take these animals?" I say, "Yeah, bring them." I have a 27 questionnaire, like 27 questions I need to answer. So that goes through, do we have the volunteer pool? Do we have the financials? Do we have the infrastructure for them? Do we have the knowledge to look after them? Is it going to impact our other animals negatively? I have to answer all those questions. So first I have to say to myself, yes, I'm going to do it. I go through, answer all those questions. That goes off to my board of directors. They review it, and they will say yes or no.
And you trust kind of their...
Yes. And they're gonna, like, they know if I think I can do it. Most time they're like, yes. But I mean, you always want to have those checks and balances in place, because every animal that you're asked to take, there's always some kind of a story where they're going to die if you don't take them.
Yeah.
But I need to make sure that I have the space available for the ones who absolutely need to get out. They need a safe place to go. They've had a horrific life. They need somewhere at the end of their life they can live safely and in retirement. So we're always very strict. Like, we don't want to get too big too fast, because there's only so many of us, and if we have way too many animals, then we're not looking after anybody properly. So we always want to make sure, the animals that we have, we're able to look after them correctly. They have a really good life, and if we feel like that's stable, then we can grow. So there's a lot of different things in place to make sure that we don't become overwhelmed, because it's very easy to get overwhelmed in animal rescue.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
You want to help everybody, and when you have to say no, it is gut-wrenching sometimes.
Yeah, but I guess that's sort of similar to, like, when you have animals pass away here, you almost have to separate yourself, because it's not your response.
Yeah.
You can't take care of every single
I can't take care of
thing.
everybody, right? And honestly, I would prefer that we didn't have to exist. but we do, and there is a huge need for us. So yeah, we try and educate the public as much as we can.
And is that a pig tattoo I saw it on your
That
shoulder?
one.
Yeah, what a
Well,
cutie.
this is Trent Reznor from Nine Inch Nails.
Oh, heck yeah.
But this
That's
is a
what I
pig.
saw.
Yeah. And then I have animals on this side
Oh
as
my
well.
gosh, chicken
Yeah.
and a goat
And a
then
pig,
a
another pig.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're in good company with Trent Reznor. Can I see the other ones? Yeah. That's awesome. Two more questions. Second to last is, how can people contribute or donate to a Home for Hooves?
Yeah, so basically visit our website, so www.homeforhooves.org. So that has everything from volunteering, so you can do remote volunteering, you can do like boots on the ground, or we have work parties every month. And then yeah, becoming a monthly donor is probably one of the best ways that you can support us, because that is sustainable income. We know we always have those funds and we can base our programs off of that. And then obviously our capital campaign. So we're trying to purchase a large acreage right now. We've raised $1 million of our $3 million goal. So it's spreading the word, sharing our posts, letting people know that we exist. And yeah, that's basically the best ways. Yeah, here on site is good monthly, and then supporting our capital campaign.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I've seen on your website too, you can sponsor animals.
Yes.
So if you go on the website, you can find the golden
Menace.
The golden menace. I want to sponsor the golden menace. And so you can give monthly donations
Yes.
to help support the animals.
Yeah,
Like
and then you get to come in if you want to. You get to come here, you get to meet them, and it just you know that you're providing them veterinary care. You're providing them with bedding and food and making sure everyone here stays safe. So yeah.
Reminds me, I used to work in a studio with lots of dogs, and that was the best part of working in the studios. You could be the bad uncle, scratch the dogs, you know, like have all the fun. But then at the end of the day, you just walked away
Yeah.
from them and didn't have to worry about the vet bills and the food and the set.
Yeah.
And then just the last question is just, do you have any sort of final words for any of the people watching or listening?
Oh gosh. I don't know, pretty much what I've already said, but yeah, just trying to support us in any way that you can and spreading the word about who we are, because then too people become aware that, you know, we are able to rescue animals as well. Like we do, like, oh, I never even heard of you, and there's this animal. It's like, I can help them. And even if I can't help them, I'm a sanctuary rep for an organization called Peace. They help rehome farm animals in Western Canada. So even then I've got all the connections. I can try and help these animals and get them to a safe place whenever possible.
Yeah, and like you said earlier too, if say I found a pig that I want to nurse back to health and I don't know what to do because I've never had a pig before, you're a great resource of information.
Yeah, because I've been through everything. Like we have over 50 pigs here right now, and we've had all kinds of ailments and things that have gone that are just bizarre, but we've solved it and like helped them along the way. I mean, sometimes you can't either. So I could even say, you know, like I've had people ask, like we had a turkey who we tried to put a prosthesis on her. It did not work well. So for me, I've actually had quite a few sanctuaries reach out to me over the years about Gertie. And I'm like, you know what, don't do it. Because they don't do well. They don't cope well with it. So learn from my experience, and just like there's so many things I've learned over the years of what to do, what not to do, and I can tell you which way to go.
Yeah, and there's no training manual for the stuff you've gone through.
There absolutely is not. And when I think back about all the things I've learned, it's nuts. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you should write a book. This is actually, you know, you've got the title for it already.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's quite incredible. Well, yeah, those are all the questions I had. So yeah, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for having me. So
Yeah.
it's awesome.
Hopefully it'll turn out good.
I'm excited to hear it.
Hopefully all the
Everything
videos
worked?
Wow, that was a lot of hooves and a lot of tails. I hope you guys had as much fun watching this episode as we had making it. If you'd like to help Michelle out, you can visit their website and either donate money, or you can volunteer either remotely or at the sanctuary itself. Also follow them on social media because they're always doing cool, exciting, and new events. With a big push on educating the public. And if you can't make it to Duncan, just share this episode. Like, subscribe. There's more on the way. I promise there's cool stuff coming. Just maybe not as many animals all at once. A special thanks to my sister and mom who helped me make this episode, and a big thanks to all you guys at home for watching. Thanks again. My name has been Matthew Enright, and I'll catch you next time.
Hey, I'm almost done, sweetie. Bye.
I want kids.
Yeah.
I need a girlfriend first.
You can adopt. You never know.
Yeah.
Why are you yelling? Because it's a good dream! And it's got cool animals in it and some pretty great people, too!